Alan J. Woodward asks two questions. Question one, what are your thought processes around the choice of song that you cover and who is involved in that process? Well, I think for all of the songs that we covered, we all love those songs. You know, I think that's where any act has to start. You have to love the song that you're playing. If you don't love it, then other, I suppose, pressures are being brought to bear on your music beyond the love of music. And luckily, we kind of managed to avoid pretty much all of those pressures. Maybe we should have paid a little bit more attention to them, but hey. So what are the songs we covered? There was Manic. Well, I've documented in many places about how I discovered that song on a cassette that was given to us by a man called Graham Robinson in a nightclub in Middlesbrough at the arena where I was working. And he went on to become the band's manager for a while. And I fell in love with that song. Chris and Sarah did the same. And it went on to become the legend that it is, I suppose. And then St. Swithin's Day, well, that's an interesting one because it's a Billy Bragg song. And I love that song, so did Chris, Sarah too. It's a Billy Bragg song, and Billy writes from a place of real sincerity, you know, and he also writes, at least with these romantic songs from the earlier part of his career, he writes from his perspective. It makes complete sense. So I thought it would be really interesting to hear a woman singing a song that was so clearly written from a male perspective. In fact, there's a couple of lines in that song which kind of leap out for me, which you really just don't hear women saying or singing, especially not in the 90s. It's, with my own hands, when I make love to your memory. Now, it's a fantastic line, and it rings true, you know, especially from a male perspective, but you don't hear that often from a woman's perspective. So there was an instance, I suppose, of us bringing a new light or shining a light onto a lyric that somebody else had written to give it a new feeling or maybe just a slightly different perspective. And that was something that I hoped that we'd managed with Manic. I don't think we kind of got there with La Boheme. My favourite cover of all, I suppose, but after St. Swithin's Day, is the cover of the Astrud Gilberto song, A Certain Sadness. And the reason why I really like that is, first of all, that song came to me through Delino Moscadini, who was the chap who left the cassette of Sarah singing in my flat in Jesmond all those years ago. And I was aware of Astrud Gilberto, but I hadn't really heard any of her lesser known songs. So I heard this and I thought, this is really interesting. First of all, Astrud really reminded me of Sarah, or Sarah reminded me of Astrud. They had a lot in common. They were both singers who kind of became famous without ever having that ambition of being famous. They both had the very sort of gentle, detached way of singing. And I felt that the lyric in the song was perfect Dubstar. It was melancholy. It was about difficulties in a relationship. But the singer, Astrud, and then latterly Sarah, they both come out of this sad place as heroes, as heroines, you know. They will live to fight another day, which I really liked. There was also another big thing about A Certain Sadness. We recorded that, I think it must have been towards the end of 1995, and this was peak Britpop. And that never really appealed to me, didn't appeal to Chris or Sarah, I don't think. And I really like the fact that whilst our contemporaries were aligning themselves with British music from the 60s and 70s, here was Dubstar being contrary and sincere and covering a tune that originated not from Britain, but not even from Europe, not even from this hemisphere, as from Brazil. And I really liked that. I think it was a recognition of how we all occupied a bigger place than just Britain.